Uh, Hello. Good afternoon to all the colleagues. Hello. All the friends, delegates, and distinguished guests here. Istanbul is beautiful. It reminded me very well that some part of my country that I've been traveling for almost more than 15 years. I would like to thank my kind of a teacher, Mr. Pagin, and Istanbul Summit for inviting me for this great opportunity to speak out on behalf of Bhutanese and Bhutan. Well, Bhutan is a country, a small piece of cake between India and hello, sorry, there's an interruption, between India and China. We have a land square of almost like 43,000 square kilometers, which is not even a small portion of Turkey. We are populated with 700,000 people, yet to be fooled as the 700,000 by 2025. Bhutan, a Himalayan nation with all Himalayan mountains, slopes, and natural forests that is always conserving us to bring to the topic of carbon negative in the world. We produce lots and lots of oxygen by our natural forests, which conserves as a home to our natural home animals that goes around on their own existing life from any kind of their circumstances of living life in the natural forest. Our animals are not preserved in the intact zoos. They're free to roam around the country from any range of the altitude they could adjust themselves. A recent survey says that a tiger, Royal Bengal tiger living in the southern foothill was found at the altitude of 4,500 meters, which means he's traveling around on his own ways of living. Let me get back to the culture life of my culture and my country. Bhutan has introduced its tourism to the outside world in 1974 with limited tourists, around 10,000 people to be visited in a year. The year goes by, the government and the king was always cautious about its own culture, tradition that has to be passed on from one generation to another generation. If you open up too much to the world, and as a small piece of land, it will be flourish within no time in a bigger way of influencing culture and tradition. We are living in a country molded with culture and tradition, lots of changes with the modernization of the world, but yet our leaders, our government, our king, which leads the country into the right direction, molding with modernization. Our younger generations are always taught in the schools the value of culture and its tradition to be driven down from one generation to another generation. This is a platform where the government always looks into the ways of molding gross national happiness to in comparing with the gross domestic product, whereby we say gross national happiness is more important than gross national product. If we maintain to be producing more of gross domestic, and when people lose culture, tradition, when people forget their own culture and traditions of their parents, of their culture, the country has no security. The country does not have proper identity, especially for Himalayan country. a small piece of cake between two big countries like India to the south and China in the north. This is our main purpose of ruling the travel industry in the country. When I look at the ways of managing tourism in the Europe and some part of the world, it is a big step and big ways of thinking to make money to the people, but whereas we don't, we scale it to the same level of we can manage ourselves. It does not mean that every individual has to make lots and lots of amounts of dollars into their account and they make them that individual house or business very happy. Our policy of tourism, it's called high value, low volume. Means the people who visits Bhutan has a fixed amount of money that has to be paid per day. If not, you are not allowed to visit the country by rejecting your visa. All the visa processes are on the note when you agree with the travel itinerary and the amount that you calculate per night, and then you pay to the government, and then government would allow you to visit the country. So this is how we mold up tourism industry in Bhutan. In the recent, after the pandemic, the government became more sensitized with as the past panel talks about here more about transformation. We are more about transformation because this is the time to change ourselves. We, the middle class, the medium class, has to play a bigger role to pass on our generation to the new generation with the stable condition of our country's situation with tradition and culture that must be always driven down so that the identity of the country remains always good. The vision of the king says we must provide our people with always a stable mind of living as a country, as a people, as a nation as a whole. In other words, we say one nation, one people. Means every citizen of the country should know how to put up his national dress, which is I'm wearing. This is my formal dress for the men in Bhutan. We have different one for women. So these are all cultures, culture symbolism. Of course, we do have many other cultures, but mainly to put up your national dress, speak national language, and our younger generations get educated in our national language almost all the time. So I believe this Economic Summit Istanbul will give us more knowledge about all the things we talked about here, or talked here. And that should go out of this house and reach up to the corners of the world of all these messages and bring everybody to the same platform to make this world for better living. Thank you very much.